Test microphone.
Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for always tuning in. Thank you so much for always watching. Yeah, my name is Mariam Ruth, and I'm happy to share with you whatever I have in mind, and I hope that you will receive it and you will embrace it. Last time we talked about dignity. Today we're going to talk about something that is very, very, very interesting, and it is building, it is changing if we embrace it. Today I'm going to talk about what they call being intentional. When we talk about being intentional, many things come up in our minds. Someone can think about some other thing and another person can think about some other thing. But today let me define what I know, how I know it, being intentional. Being intentional is being specifically mindful of the impact of what you do. Whatever you do, when you are mindful, that is being intentional. What intentions do you have? What drives you to do something? When you are relating with others, what really drives you to relate with others? Do you relate with others because you're going to benefit something from them? Do you help someone who is needy because you want everyone to see you? Being intentional, it consists of many, it is consistent of a lot of things. So it's what we are going to talk about. And before we go deeply, we're going to talk about specifically how we can be intentional and how being intentional can benefit us. How can we be intentional? We can be intentional in various things, but I'm going to pick up a little bit of, or like a few things that can help us to be intentional. We can be intentional when we take time to think, when we take time to ponder about what we are going to do. That is when we can be intentional, when we take time to think about what we are going to do. Let us say you're going to your workplace and you're going to work. What are your intentions? Do you work just for the sake? Is it a courtesy call that you have come to work, or you work because you want to get something out of the money, out of the profits? When you start a business, do you just work? What are your intentions? Are you intentional? And let me tell you something, with being intentional, when you're intentional, the effects come out later. In being intentional and effects, intention and effects, they are almost the same things. Your intention will always equate with your effects. So always be intentional, because your intentions and the effects of whatever you intended to do, they are almost the same thing. If you intended to do something and you did it a certain way and you effected it in a certain way, the effects and the intentions, they are not going to be parallel. They're always going to be what? They're always going to be the same. So effects and intentions are always the same. You always look at it and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. What are my intentions? Because the intentions of whatever I'm going to do are going to come out later. I'm going to see them later. If we are to sit down and ponder about our lives, whatever that has been going on in our lives, whatever that we have been facing, it's because of maybe some things that we intended to do. And when sometimes you didn't even give it a thought of intention, you just did it like that. But on your way, there was something that you did that connected to whatever that happened after. That is what we call intention. Your intention and your effects, they always move hand in hand. So we've talked about taking time to think about what we are going to do, or what we are going to effect. That is one of the things that will help us be intentional. When we think, we will have good intentions. And what will the good intentions birth? The good intentions will birth whatever is good, because out of the good intentions, good things came out. So when we have good intentions, we will birth good effects. So let us always be mindful, let us always be thoughtful, let us always ponder, because why not? Because at a certain point in time, it would be better to think about what you're going to do than to get bad effects because of bad intentions. I know you can't afford to have a bad life. You can't afford to have weird results. You can't afford to have something negative because of the mere fact that you did not give it time to think. Yet if you had given it time to think, if you had given it a thought, you would have effected something good. So let us always think about what we are going to do. Then another thing that can help us be intentional is to see whatever we have been doing, the intentions that we had, and the effects that we have, they have always been the same. So there are two different things: thinking about what we do and pondering about our lives, thinking about our lives. What have we been doing? That thing will help us. It will trigger us to always be intentional in whatever we do. So we can't talk about how we can be intentional and not talk about the fruits of being intentional. There are many fruits of being intentional. Being intentional helps us to be proper decision makers, because you know that if I am intentional, I will think good for myself, because I can't be selfish to the extent that I can wish bad for myself. No, I cannot be selfish to that extent. So I'll think good for myself, I'll plan good for myself, and in the end I will decide well, and out of the decision I will get good. So being intentional helps us in proper decision making, you understand? So you will learn to plan well, you will learn to decide well, because you know that I am intending to do well, and in the end I'm going to get something good about my good intentions, you understand? So we've talked about the proper decision making because of that nice thing called intentions. Then what else can we get out of intentions is the fact that it helps us to have morality. When you're intentional, you're morally good, you're morally upright. Why? Because if you have that character within you of pondering about what you're going to do, of being intentional, you will help out of goodwill. You will not help because you're expecting something good. You will not treat someone well because someone else is seeing you. You understand? You will not, let us say, those people who pay for others' tuition. You will not pay because you want to be recorded in the books that so and so pays for this one, so let us praise them. No, you will have morality. When you're intentional, whatever you do, you will think about it. When you're reacting, let us say in your social life with your friends, you will be intentional that I have to treat this one very well, I have to do this and this to this one, because I know I'm having good intentions towards them. I have thought about how I'm supposed to treat my friend. Don't just have friendships, don't just treat them anyhow just because you're not intentional. Because let me tell you one thing, intentions have breath, intentions breathe. You will hide your intentions, or you will not be mindful about what you're doing. But at the end of the day, whatever that seed that you had within you of doing bad to them, or that bad intention that you didn't know was bad, or that bad intention will at the end of the day come out. You will find out that you have spent, let us say, some good years with your friends, but at the end of the day you're not relating, you cannot socialize with them just because of some intention that you had in the first place that you did not notice and you did not know. So you ought to be aware that, okay, in whatever I do, there is something that is called intention, and that intention, it breathes, it has life, you understand? There is a certain friend of mine who always tells me that, okay, we are all sinners, we all sin, but it is not good to plan to sin. Let sin find you in a certain place, let it find you, but do not look for it, do not plan to sin, you understand? So I'm also here to tell you that let us be intentional, because when you're intentional, you will intend good. You will put some good time you will work upon the intentional part. So if you're intentional, you ought to be intentional. You understand, just like my friend usually says that, plan not to sin. You plan to be intentional, plan to have good intentions. At least let the bad intentions get you on the way, but you have those good intentions in whatever you do. Have good intentions in your marriage. Be intentional. You understand, it is not only about relating. What intentions do you have for your marriage? Do you intend to just live life just like that in your marriage, or you intend to have progress annually, or maybe after some time, or like periodic developments in your relationships? Are you intentional in your workplace or in your business? Because if you're intentional, you will know that at a certain point in time, I have to grow after this and this kind of business, but after 2 years, I'm seeing it somewhere. That is being intentional. But if you don't have that seed, you won't find it. Then also another thing, when you're dating, are you being intentional, or you're dating for fun? Because at the end of the day, it's going to catch up with you. You understand? So you ought to be intentional. Okay, we understand sometimes things can mean to be hard, but let us try. At least bad will meet us on the way, but let us try to do what? Let us try to do good, because intentions have breath. Me, I know there is one thing I know about myself. I can't afford to be lousy with life, because I know how I look like when I'm lousy. So I always try hard, although I'm learning, but I try hard to be intentional in whatever I do. It doesn't matter how hard it gets, it doesn't matter how bad I look, but I try very hard to be intentional, because I can't afford, because I know how I look like when I'm hot, when I'm lousy. So we have talked about that word called intention. I hope we have all understood, and I hope it has sunk deep within us. Let us be intentional. Let us be mindful. It is healthy. It is nice. It is beautiful to be intentional, because why not? Why wouldn't you be intentional in your life? So I'm going to wind up by saying that let us be intentional. When you wake up in the morning, whatever you do, be intentional. Whatever you digest, whatever you ingest, be intentional. You wake up, you feel sweet about your life, be intentional. Be intentional with whatever you do. When you wake up, when you leave your house, be intentional. It is good and it's beautiful. So thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe down there, and don't even forget to share, because why wouldn't you share this kind of knowledge? Until next time, ciao.